Okay, looking at 10.3, we're now going to talk about solving quadratic functions. So 10.1, 10.2 was all about graphing quadratic functions. Solving quadratic functions we've already done. We did this in chapter 9. We did some factoring was one way to solve. And today we're going to learn another way, which is actually using these graphs that we've made to help us solve. So just to recall, the roots of a quadratic function are also called the zeros, x-intercepts, or solutions. And the idea with solutions is your zeros are going to be the solution of the equation when your y is equal to 0. So if you have something like if you have something like 0 equals ax squared plus bx plus c, then your solutions are just your roots, or your zeros, so where you cross the x-axis. So this is going to be our new method to solve in 10.3. So you're going to graph a quadratic equation, and if it's set to 0, the solutions of your graph are just going to be the zeros of your parabola. So if we wanted to graph something like y equals x squared minus x minus 2, we saw in 10.2 that you could do negative b over 2a. To find your x value of your vertex and then plug that in to find your y value. You could make a big table of values, but by now you've realized that that process is, it can be fairly time consuming. So we're going to use an application that's already built in on your computer called Grapher. So if you've never used this before, you can go right up to your Spotlight search, and in the Spotlight search, just start typing in Grapher, and it should come up fairly quickly, and you can just click right on it. Your default settings are okay. You can just say choose, and you're left with a screen like this. And what the application Grapher does is it just graphs any line. So if you want to graph y equals x, it graphs y equals x. If you want to graph y equals 2x plus 4, it graphs y equals 2x plus 4. So it's really fairly handy. You can zoom in, zoom out, and it can also graph quadratic equations. So if we wanted to graph x squared minus x minus 2, we type in x, and how we type in x squared is we press shift 6, which gives us our little up arrow, and now we can put our exponent of 2. Then you're going to move over a space, minus x, and then I think we said minus 2, minus 2. Then you can just press enter, and notice we get this nice parabola. So just looking back here, here's those instructions again. You're going to use Grapher. You're going to press shift 6 to type in y equals x to the second power, which is x squared minus x minus 2. And all we were shown was y equals x squared minus x minus 2, and we were given a graph that looks something like this. You'll notice that that's the same graph as we have here. So now if we're asking what are our solutions of our equation, the solutions are just x equals negative 1 and x equals 2. And you see that here as well. So our solutions are x equals negative 1 and x equals 2. And as always, you can always plug these values in to check your work. X squared, if x is 2, is 4. Minus 2, that'll give you 0. If x equals negative 1, negative 1 squared is 1 minus negative 1, which is 2. Minus 2 gives you 0. So remember, the idea here is we're saying 0 equals x squared minus x minus 2. So looking at this next example, we're told to solve 0 equals x squared plus 6x plus 8. So how we're going to do this is we're going to graph y equals x squared plus 6x plus 8. So now we can go to Grapher and type that in. X squared plus 6x plus 8. Notice we're going to be over here to the left. So we can just move over there. And we see our solutions are going to be negative 4 and negative 2. And we see that here as well. X equals negative 4 and x is equal to negative 2. So go ahead and pause the video and you can try this next one on your own. Just type it into Grapher, see if you get a nice parabola, and then see what your solution is. Okay, so I'm going to assume you typed it into Grapher, and here we go. You get a parabola that opens down. We have a negative a value. You notice we cross the x-axis at -3, and we cross at x equals 1. Just remember these are these points here where we're crossing the x-axis. Don't get these confused with the vertex. Our solutions are just where we cross the x-axis. So on your homework tonight, you have a handful of these to do, but I do have a note on there that says you are allowed to use the Grapher app. So actually the homework should go fairly quickly. Just get some practice punching in equations and then looking for solutions.